How's it going, everyone? Malik here from the Gauntlet of Gaming, and today I want to give you my impressions from the Guilty Gear Strive closed beta that just recently ended this weekend. Now, normally when I give impressions or reviews, I like to cover the cons or negatives first and then transition into the positives to leave you with something good. But based off of my experience with the closed beta, I'm going to kind of switch that up. And I'm actually going to talk about my pros about the beta first, and then conclude with my cons and areas of opportunity, because there's quite a few. So going into the pros of the beta, things that I really liked when I experienced it, one of the first things that I immediately want to talk about off the bat was that the character select screen was nice and simple. It was clean, it was easy to read. You know, I could understand that, I was choosing a character that exhibited skills of a certain type. It let me know who had what range of capability, where they should be fighting from, things like that. And I really like that. I think as a casual gamer, as a casual channel, like, this is something that we would appreciate as casuals. And even from the competitive standpoint of, like, I want to choose a character who plays like this, it's a lot easier to know who those characters will be if you've never played a Guilty Gear game before. So I think that was really cool. Moving into the online, one of the things I thought that was a cool aspect that could have been handled better was the online tower system. And basically how this works is you are in a floor with people in the lobby, which we'll talk about the lobby system later, but you're on a floor in the lobby with these people, and the way that it works is to prevent you from being in a room full of people who will just destroy you. There is a set number of floors, and you start from the bottom floor and work your way up with each victory that you're getting, or every so set of victories that you're getting. And the way that happens is when you win and you get to the floor above, you're able to move up to the floors even higher than you freely, but you are not allowed to go to the floors below. So it prevents people who are like professional fighters who could like touch of death, a casual gamer. It prevents them from going down to the lowest floor and just having a field day with them. And I think that was really cool. I think it's a nice way to prevent, players from being discouraged from playing with people of like-minded skill. And I just wish it was implemented a little bit better, but I think it was nice. It was a nice touch. I liked it. I liked it a lot. Another thing that felt really good in the beta was the fight intro. The way that the fight intro worked, the way that it sounded, was just so cool. It gave hype to the fight that was about to happen, and some characters like Axel Lowe or Faust, they just had a really super cool, eerie, effect on the intro of a fight, and it made it feel like the space that we're fighting in is not just contained to the 2D plane that we're sliding back and forth on. I thought that was super cool. Speaking of the fight, I really liked the high damage of this game. Games like this or Sam Show, which have like a lot of high damage to them, I really enjoy because it makes the games quicker. You're able to rematch, replay, keep going, things like that. If you want to play slow, that's kind of more up to your pace of like, playing footsies with people to just strategize in the middle of the fight. Now, granted, there is one nitpick that I have when it comes to the high damage of the game, but I'll talk about that when I go over to the cons. But yeah, it being a fast-paced game, I think was really cool, and I'm really excited to be able to play this with someone like Santi, who really likes fast-paced fighting games like me. Now, another thing that stood out, and we were always going to be hyped to see this in action, and it's specific to a character, and that's Faust, with his ability to give a character an afro. I think that that's one of the funniest abilities I've ever seen in a game in my life. And what was cool about it was the fact that it's not just an aesthetic choice. At first I was confused. I'm like, why? Why would he just give him an afro? Like, it's random, it's weird, it's a very Faust thing to do. But then you learn that the ability, though it makes your character look goofy and makes it, look really funny, it actually has a fighting aspect to it where it increases the hitbox of your character. And I was like, yo, that's super cool. It's a funny move that subtly does something to the character, making it easier to hit them. And I thought that was really, that was really cool. I thought that was really funny. And I would like to see more characters have abilities that are like that, where it's like they're doing cool stuff or they're doing funny things that kind of changes how the fight works in a a way. And I thought that was funny. Another pro I have is just how the game made me feel when it came to playing each character. So I went around playing it offline and I experimented with all the different characters just to see who I would have fun with online. And I thought I was going to enjoy Soul Bad Guy, but unfortunately I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't vibing with how Soul played. And I tried to play as Kai, and though he's supposed to be kind of like the well-balanced character that a lot of beginners play as, I still wasn't feeling it with him either. And it took me playing as Chip. And the thing is, I didn't play a lot of Chip in Xrd Rev 2, which was around the time when I started getting into Guilty Gear. And playing him in the beta completely changed my mind. He felt awesome, he felt amazing, he was fast, he was flippy, he was dippy, and he was just doing a lot of cool stuff. And I was just like, wow, this game managed to actually make me like a completely different character, because my favorite Guilty Gear character to play as is Zato, who unfortunately was not in the beta. But yeah, I just thought it was amazing how Guilty Gear Strive kind of sets up each character. Like every character felt fun to play as, especially Faust. Faust felt really fun to play as, but it had a good enough effect to change who I mained as, at least temporarily. And so I thought that was cool. I thought the way that each character kind of had their own thing was really nice. And I almost played Axel low, but Chip just managed to get out right in front of him. So now talking about the cons, the areas of opportunity. And I'm going to start with probably the biggest thing that anyone who has heard of Guilty Gear Strive or played Guilty Gear Strive's beta or just talks about it in general, the big thing that everyone talks about, and that's the online lobby system. Now, Arc System Works is known notoriously for not having the best online lobby. In fact, them having a lobby system in general is just a negative. It was one of the things that was kind of off-putting to me about Dragon Ball FighterZ, was even in offline mode, it just felt like you were in an empty lobby instead of just being able to play the game, just play local, play story, things like that. Just having menus designated for things of that such. And the issue kind of continues here, where for online, you're put in this weird hotel tower lobby system with pixel art, and it had so many issues. It didn't make sense. Matchmaking with people didn't really make any sense. And it just kind of begged the question of, why do they still do the lobby system? Why don't they just matchmake? Why don't they just have it to where you press a button and you're looking for matches? And it's been echoed by many people, professional gamers, non-professional gamers. Everyone's been talking about it. And even us, the Gauntlet of Gaming, being casual gamers, it's an issue that many of us have had. Like Santi and I talk constantly about how Arc Systems with their lobby system it's very off-putting, and I'm not a big fan of it. And hopefully they hear the feedback of the fans, and hopefully the feedback is loud enough that they realize, hey, you got to just stop. Like, just don't do this lobby system, please. Don't put this in the final game. It was a horrible experience to deal with, and I just need it to be gone, in all honesty. So moving on to that, the next thing isn't really so much a con as it is more a nitpick from the perspective of casual fighting gamers who want to get into Guilty Gear. The thing with Guilty Gear Strive is that it tries very hard to appeal to a wide range of people, and what it does is it ends up isolating the true fans, and it ends up still not attracting new fans. And I don't know how people would feel about this change, but this is from my personal perspective alone. The punch, kick, slash, heavy slash, and dust system, the PKSHSD system that is in the game, I would never have considered it to be something that was friendly to casuals. You play a game like Mortal Kombat, and then you go from Mortal Kombat to playing Tekken. There are these typical fighting mechanic button layouts that you deal with. There's the punch and the kick system with high, medium, low punch, high, medium, low kick. You have your light, heavy, medium type fighting system or the light, medium, heavy, special. You know, there's different mechanics that go from game to game, but they feel somewhat similar. Most games have one or the other, and some anime fighters are the exception. You know, anime fighters are typically where you would find different fighting styles, but it made sense for those games. Now for Guilty Gear, that was where the issue kind of came in, because Arc System Works did an awesome job with light, heavy, medium in Dragon Ball Fighters. Now granted, everyone has like their gripes with Dragon Rush and Charge and things like that, and I can understand that. I'm with you there. But they had the light, medium, and heavy, and then the key special as a mechanic for Dragon Ball Fighters. Why don't they incorporate that into Guilty Gear? You know, you want to bring in more fans, then have a more universally friendly button layout for people to use. Now, for the more hardcore, die-hard Guilty Gear fans, they may not like that. And I understand, you know, I perfectly understand. This is coming from the perspective of a casual who wants to love Guilty Gear and wants to play those games. I really had fun with XRD Rev 2, and I really want to just play more Guilty Gear. But the punch, kick, slash, heavy slash, and dust system I didn't like it when it was introduced to me. I still don't like it now, and it's not a lot of fun. You know, like I felt like I was having more fun with Guilty Gear Strive now that I was starting to use it more, but it's not where I would like it to be. So going back to the online tower, one of the things that was a con about the tower was the progression of moving up. Now, the issue with it is that for some people, you would win a couple matches in a row, and it would just automatically knock you up to the next floor. So you'd have to wait. You couldn't fight people for a bit because it was loading you onto the next floor, and then you would have to fight. And for me, it became kind of irritating because I think I went up 2 floors in the span of a couple of minutes. And then when I went from the floor I was previously at to the next one, I immediately got my butt handed to me and knocked back down to the floor again. And it's like, okay, alright, I got knocked down. So now I'm going to have to fight, go back up just to get my butt kicked again, just to come back down. Like, it felt like a game of tit for tat back and forth that was just kind of not good. So either they have to like up the threshold of how many fights you have to win before you move up to the next floor, and how many fights you have to lose before you get demoted. Like, at least Tekken shows you like, hey, you're about to be promoted, hey, you're about to be demoted. But when we were playing in the beta, there was not really an indication of, hey, if you win this fight, you're going to get upgraded to the next level. But if you lose this certain fight, you're going to be knocked down to the floor below. And so maybe some kind of indicator would be nice, and upping the number of victories that are necessary to, you know, change that floor. So another thing that was a con, and this could have just been a beta thing, this might not be in the real game. I highly doubt that it'll be an issue in the real game. But there was no rematch for online battle. And that kind of sucked. You know, you would just fight somebody, you're like, okay, that was a pretty good fight, it was close, I want to rematch you. But the beta didn't have that as an option. So, it's just a quick gripe. They're probably going to put it in the final game. I hope they're going to put it in the final game. But it was just one of those things that it was disappointing to not have that as an option in the beta. Now, another con is the fact, it goes back to what I was saying about I like how the game has high damage. You know, it's a fast game. What sucked, though, about that high damage was you have a character like Chip, who many consider the glass cannon, where he's supposed to do a lot of damage, but he has less health than everyone else. And, you know, I could see that. You know, I was doing a fair amount of damage to people, and it was really nice. It was really fun. But all it took was a person to hit me 3 times, and like, goodness, 75% of my health was gone. And it's like, okay, you know, what was the point then of me being a glass cannon if at the same time you do equal, if not more damage than me sometimes? And that just kind of felt weird. You know, it felt like there needed to be a balance there of some kind, where either the chip just needs to be buffed a little bit more, or the damage needs to be altered a little bit, like lowered. Because, holy crap, there were some command grabs that just decimated 50%, 55% of your health. It was insane. And so, yeah, it was crazy. I hope they balance that a little bit better. I'm all for having glass cannon characters, but what's the point of being a glass cannon character if everyone can kill everyone just as, if not faster than you? So that was an issue. Another issue that stems back to the online was the whole matchmaking thing. I mean, I could talk all day about how the lobby system was not the best and how they need to just get rid of it and go to a standard matchmaking system. But even how we were supposed to matchmake in that lobby was just, it was a pain. It was a pain in the neck, and it made it very, very difficult to play, you know, especially with the beta having such a short window of time. It made it difficult for me to use my time wisely, because I was spending upwards of like 5 to 6 minutes just waiting for a match to happen, because if I got next to somebody, they'd be already gone, or if I tried to connect with someone, it said that there was a failure to connect to the game session. It just sucked. The matchmaking aspect of it sucked. And unfortunately, it actually caused me to stop playing the beta early. Like, I just couldn't stand playing the beta anymore. I wish that if the online testing was happening, they allowed offline play to happen at the same time, because if I could play offline, I would have been fine. But since I was relegated to only playing online, and the online was so difficult to matchmake with, I was like, I can't do this. Combine that with the fact that some of the online matches were horrendous to play in. You'll see a video of basically my experience in the middle of one fight where the game just outright stopped. And that's not me freeze framing anything. The game just stopped. And it felt really bad. So yeah, after experiencing that a few times on and off camera, I just was like, I'm done. I can't play this anymore. The game felt good offline. It looks good. It sounds good. It's definitely a game that I would like to play, but just from the beta alone, it's not something I could really recommend at the moment. Hopefully there's going to be a second beta where we can test to see, you know, how everything is kind of changed. But as for right now, with the current beta, I wouldn't recommend the game. Not yet. It needs to fix some things. And as far as it being, I would say it's more casual friendly than a lot of other Guilty Gears as far as how it plays and how it feels and things like that. But like I said, I can't recommend it yet to anyone until after I've seen some of the changes implemented and experimented with. And the last thing that I want to leave off with, which is kind of a disappointment right now, is that what really hooked me into Guilty Gear Strive, aside from it being announced, was there was the tease of that samurai character at the end of the Evo trailer. And it's almost been 1 year. Like, Evo is coming up in a couple of months, or at least if Evo is still happening, it'll be happening in not a couple, but in a few months. And it's, you know, we still haven't seen, heard, or like just been teased by anything related to this character. And I felt like the beta would have been a good opportunity for them to like kind of tease the character. You know, it's like, hey, thanks for playing the beta. Here's a quick teaser of the character, maybe like a name drop or something, anything. You know, this is a character that hyped a lot of people up, myself included. Like, I was like, you know what? I want to play this game just so I can play as that character. But we still have nothing. And that's not really the beta's fault, as it is more, this is like me calling out to Arc System Works, like, hey, you have this character. Give us something, please. You know, it's been way too long to not hear anything about this character. Even just a name. You know, I don't even have to know their moveset. Just give me a name, and I'll be satisfied. So, we'll see what happens with that. But, yeah. With that being said, this has been my impressions from the Guilty Gear Strive closed beta. It was fun, you know, for when it was working, it was a lot of fun, but there's definitely some things that Arc System Works can work on to make this game better, you know, before it's released. And luckily, it's supposed to be coming out later this year. We'll see if it still ends up coming out later this year. So hopefully those adjustments are made and the game is able to thrive, because I think this will be a Guilty Gear game that could potentially successfully keep its old fan base and somewhat satisfy them, while also bringing in a lot of new players when the new players see the things that are willing to, you know, keep them attached to it. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully I can stream or play some more Guilty Gear Strive in the future. Unfortunately, I couldn't stream it live because I was just exhausted from everything that was happening with Final Fantasy VII Remake. But yeah, maybe Santi and I will play some Guilty Gear Xrd Rev 2 just to kind of like, you know, whet our appetite with Guilty Gear. But until then, my name is Malik. This has been the Gauntlet of Gaming. These hands are rated E for everyone, and I will see you all later.
Slap.